What's up, everybody? I'm Hoops and Hip Hop, and welcome back to another episode of the Pokeblock Podcast. In last week's episode, we talked about basically ranking my favorite generations from worst to best, and just going through all of them, and which ones I like the least, which ones I like the most, that type of thing. And today, we've got something fun. We're going to be talking about basically some of my just general unpopular Pokemon opinions. Because everyone has unpopular Pokemon opinions, and some of these, I have talked about a lot of things that, you could consider unpopular opinion or controversial or whatever on my own YouTube channel, and it's definitely incited a lot of discussion. But these particular opinions I'm going to talk about today, I, for the most part, haven't really ever talked about in a video, and I haven't really, got the chance to fit it in a video to this point. So I thought it would be fun to talk about some of these here, and so that's what we're going to do. Hopefully all of you guys are staying safe out there wherever you are. Things are crazy right now, obviously, but hopefully this can give you something to do to pass the time and keep you safe, keep you sound, and all of that good stuff. So with that being said, before we get started, I would like to thank the sponsor of UCast Studios and of this particular podcast, because they really keep things moving and we appreciate them so much. And so with that being said, today's episode is brought to you by the Tax Defense Group. Tax season is here, and that means it's time to file. Instead of going through the hassle of walking through an H&R Block, you can instead call the experts at the Tax Defense Group, because they can handle your tax filing anywhere. Also, for a limited time, if you are a W-2 employee, you can save half off of your filing. All you have to do is call the Tax Defense Group before April 15th, that's coming up, so you better hurry, and mention that you saw this ad or heard this ad on UCast Studios. So go ahead and call them today at 800-850-7973. That number again is 800-850-7973, or you can visit them online at thetaxdefensegroup.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Writer Junkie. There are millions of good paying jobs out there, and what might be holding you back from getting one of them is having an up-to-date, well-written resume. Writer Junkie offers resume writing services for the low cost of just $145, and with only a 3-day turnaround, you cannot beat that price and delivery time. So go ahead and call Writer Junkie today at 805-587-7966, and you can visit them online at writerjunkie.com. And if you mention that you heard this ad on UCast Studios, they will go ahead and get right to work for you. Alrighty. And with all of that being said, let's go ahead and get into some unpopular Pokemon opinions. I'm going to start, this is in no particular order in terms of degrees of unpopularity or anything like that. I'm just throwing it out there, just spitballing. And the first one I figured I would start with, because it has to do with starter Pokemon, and everyone knows that I feel like everyone has some kind of opinion on starter Pokemon that is seen as unpopular in some way, shape, or form. And my personal one has to do with there are certain starter Pokemon out there that are, from what I have seen, are generally disliked by most people, or are generally liked by people, that I feel the exact opposite way. So for example, the ones that just came to mind immediately are Chestnut, Samurott, and Infernape. I personally really love Chestnut and Samurott a lot, and Infernape, while I have grown a little more fond of it, at first I didn't like it. When I first saw it, I wasn't a fan, and ever since then I've only grown to kind of be moderately accepting of it. I'll say yeah, it's cool. It's all right, it's I see what they're going for, but I am not oh my gosh, this is the best Pokemon ever, like a lot of people are. And so we're going to go through why that is the case. First off, with Chestnut, I feel like Chespin's whole line kind of gets it's the least liked almost of the 3 Kalos starters, which I really don't understand why. Chespin is adorable and is really creative. It's kind of one of those Pokemon that's you can kind of tell what it is, but you kind of can't tell what it is. And overall, that's kind of just the hallmark of a Pokemon, to where it's not just a hedgehog that it's based on. It's not just a dog or a cat or whatever. It's got a uniqueness to it, and it just has an appeal that I really, really enjoy. When it comes to Quilladin, I can kind of understand why people don't like it, because of the chonkiness, the roundness, but to be honest, once again, I don't think it's bad. Like, I think it's just fine. For middle evolution, they've kind of got to go through that puberty stage, and I just think for what it's worth, it's fine. Like, I like it. I don't have any problems with it because I know what it's trying to do. So overall, I'm fine with it. And then when it comes to Chestnut, I genuinely really don't understand what people don't like about Chestnut. I think it's really, really cool looking. It's got a really cool inspiration. It's got a really cool typing, especially for starter Pokemon. Overall, it's just a really, really good Pokemon in my opinion. And I don't get what people don't like about it. Like, is it the shape of its body? Like what? I just don't, I can't like fathom why people don't like it like I could for like maybe Quilladin, for instance. So if you are a Chespin or a Chestnut hater, you're going to have to let me know what you feel about it and why you don't like it in the comments below, because if you're on YouTube, because that's one I can't wrap my head around. And the other one that I can't wrap my head around is Samurott. I love Samurott. I've always really liked Samurott. In fact, it's the only one of the Unova starters that I'm like, yeah, this is really cool. But from what I've been able to see, most people like don't like it. Like, they don't hate it necessarily, but there's a lot of people who are just like, I don't like Samurott, which I don't get. I've heard like reasons as like, yeah, Oshawott and Duat are great, but then it goes to being on all fours and it's really weird and it just changes too much, which is really ironic because people are always talking about Pokemon, especially starter Pokemon, going from all fours to being bipedal, and they're like, not every Pokemon has to be bipedal and human-like, la la la. So the one time the opposite happens, people are still complaining. That's kind of the Pokemon fan base in a nutshell for you. But yeah, I just don't get it, because like, yeah, it does change a lot from Duat to Samurott, but why is that grounds for not liking a Pokemon? Do you not like Octillery because it changes a lot from Remoraid? Do you not like Sylveon because it changes a lot from Eevee? I've never heard anyone hating on Umbreon because it changes a lot from Eevee either, like, or all of the evolutions for that matter. So that's not really a valid argument, opinions aside, for not liking a Pokemon. And I just think it has a really cool design. Like, just in general, like even by starter standards, I just think it looks really cool. And once again, this is one that, regardless of any of the excuses I've heard, I don't understand why people feel this way. Like, people's opinions on this don't make sense. So once again, you gotta let me know how you feel in the comments, and let me know if you're a Samurott hater, why you feel this way, because I just genuinely don't get it. And then the final one we're going to go over is Infernape. Now, the biggest reason why I kind of feel different than everyone else, I feel like, is because of the anime, because Infernape and Chimchar have a huge role in the anime, and I never watched, and still have not watched, the Diamond and Pearl arc of the anime, so I don't have that, like, connection to it. But even then, I don't think that arc is all that great. Like, yeah, it's like got a redemption arc going for it, but it's also kind of like copying what Chimchar did, or Charmander did, just a little bit better, because it gets to face the person that abandoned it. But the same concept is still there, where it was abandoned by its trainer, and then Ash picked it up. So, like, it's not like it's super original and amazing and great or anything like that, because it's already been done by a starter Pokemon. And when it comes to the actual designs themselves, Chimchar, I like Chimchar. I'm not hating on Chimchar, but when I first saw Chimchar for the first time as like a 12-year-old, so like I did not have an adult brain yet. I was still just going off of like instincts and gut reactions, and I was going through the kid thought process still, and I kind of thought Chimchar was really weird, because Fire Monkey, that just didn't seem like it made sense to me at the time, and it was kind of one of those designs where I was like, oh no, like, people always say Game Freak's running out of ideas. Like, are they really running out of ideas with this one? Like, I slightly thought that with Chimchar, I remember. And so it was always my least favorite of the three like first forms of the Sinnoh starters, and I would say still is. Like even the final forms, Empoleon, Torterra, Infernape. Infernape's my least favorite for sure. And I don't know, like when it comes to Infernape specifically, like I said, I've warmed up to it over the years, so I'll recognize it as a cool Pokemon, but it's never been one that I've been like, that is awesome. Like when I saw Blaziken, for instance, in Gen 3, that is awesome. When I saw Typhlosion in Gen 2, that is awesome. When I've seen so many other starter Pokemon, when I saw Empoleon, that is awesome. But with Infernape, it was just like, I had to warm up to it to even get to the point I'm at now where I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a Pokemon that exists. So, yeah, I don't know. Just never really connected with Infernape like everyone else has, but I don't hate it either. Like I'm not saying Infernape's terrible by any means. So that's where we are with that. Moving on to other opinions that are of the unpopular variety. Another one I want to talk about that I feel strongly about, and like I said, I have not got the chance to actually go into it in a video, so I'm talking about it here, is Lady Anne. Everyone, and I mean everyone, I've genuinely not seen over the past little while anyone say that they that they like Ladybug or Lady Anne. Like everyone is always talking about how these two Pokemon are like some of the worst Pokemon ever for some reason, and I absolutely love both of them. They're probably, I think they are in fact, my favorite bug types still to this day. And, hot take, I like Ledian more than Orbeetle. That's kind of why this has been brought up in recent times, because we got another starting bug that's a Ladybug, and everyone's like, finally, a good Ladybug Pokemon. This is so much better than Lady Anne. This is so much better than Lady Anne. And I'm just sitting there like, you know what? Nah, I still like Lady Anne better. And before you say anything, I watched Loxton's video on Lady Anne not Lady Anne, but Orbeetle that he put up talking about the inspirations and the origins and going into that and basically showing how well thought out of a design Orbeetle is. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But you know what? I still like Lady Anne. Like, I still like Lady Anne, even after all of that, more than Orbeetle. And I think it's a fantastic Pokemon. I really like it a lot. And I just genuinely don't get the hate. I can't really say why I like it so much. I just feel like it has like this inherent charm to it. Like it's got some like Pokemon magic in it that just resonates with me. Like it genuinely, because I don't really have a story about it, like, oh, I used a Lady Anne in my first playthrough in Silver version when I was like 7 years old and I beat Red with it. No, I don't have anything like that. Like, I don't even really think I've caught Ladybug before. I've used Lady Anne a little bit, but I don't think I've ever used it to the point of like taking it to the Elite Four and like having it on my final team, beating the champion, entering the Hall of Fame. It's never really been like that. So I can't even really say why I like Lady Anne so much, other than the fact that, like I said, it's got a charm to it. It's really got that Pokemon feel, in my opinion. Like, you look at it and you're like, this is a Pokemon. This fits the bill. Like, this is cool. This is awesome. It's really got that style. Like, I just like its aesthetic. Like, that's what it is, aesthetic and charm. I think that's what it comes down to. And those are kind of intangible things, but that's why I like it. And I am proud to say, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that I like it better than Orbeetle. Like, I genuinely do. Like, maybe Orbeetle has more thought put into it than Lady Anne does. I haven't really gone into Lady Anne too much, so don't really know. But even if that's the case, Lady Anne just appeals more to me. I'm sorry. Like, actually, no, I'm not sorry. Because Lady Anne deserves better. Even if you don't like it, it is absolutely not a Pokemon that should be hated on and should be talked about. Oh, this Pokemon sucks. It's terrible. This is not a Magikarp of the world. This is not a Trubbish of the world. This is not a Clink of the world. This is not a Vanillite of the world. This is not a Stunfisk of the world. Do you like how I just listed 5 Unova Pokemon in a row? Does that tell you anything? Just side note. But yeah, this is not one of those terrible, bad Pokemon. This is an awesome Pokemon. Like, really good. Like, I just don't get it. I love you, Lady Ann, and one day you're going to get a Mega Form or a Galarian regional variant, and you're just going to beat everyone up. And speaking of beating people up, I feel like there is kind of grounds for Lady Ann to have fighting type, which would be cool, and I think could help it a lot, and I think I've heard people talk about that before, so that could be a reason why. So just bring back Mega Evolution, give it a Mega Evolution, make it fighting type in its Mega form, and there you go. Problem solved. It will be redeemed. And not that it needs it though, because once again, awesome Pokemon. But we're gonna move on because I just talked a long time about a fictional Ladybug, so we're going to move on. But once again, before we move on to our next unpopular opinion, I want to remind you guys about Tax Defense Group. Get your taxes done, half off, 800-850-7973. Call that number, taxdefensegroup.com, visit them online, and go get yourself a resume from Writer Junkie. You can call them 805-587-7966. They'll get right to work, mention UCAS Studios, they'll get you hooked up. But moving on to the next thing, which one should I talk about? I'm going to talk about this other one because this is another one that I didn't hint at it in my video that I posted most recently, which was my video on the perfect plan for Pokemon's future, if you saw that. But in that video, I talked a lot about Let's Go and why Let's Go needs to continue. If you haven't seen that video, I'm not going to spoil it, so go check it out. But I talked about why Let's Go needs to continue. And one thing that I have just really grown a burning passion for in terms of how strongly I feel about it is how much I absolutely love the graphics of the Let's Go games. And this one is kind of interesting because the reason why I bring it up as an unpopular opinion is because a lot of people, when the Let's Go games came out, the graphics were commented on a lot, not because they were bad, but because people were like, oh, the main series games better not look like this, blah, blah, this better just be a Let's Go thing. So people were kind of apprehensive towards it, and that was kind of the general feel of it, that they were like, this kiddie, more friendly type of style better not be in the actual main series games. When we get them, it better be like something better. And so that's kind of why I'm considering this an unpopular opinion, because that was the general consensus when Let's Go first came out. Overall, I like it's one of those things that I don't think people are up in arms over, but that was kind of the feeling when Let's Go was revealed and when it was on the way. And so that's why I put this in the unpopular opinion category, but I cannot even tell you how much I love the graphics of Let's Go. Like, I personally would be completely fine if that's the graphical style they went with for main series Pokemon, because I think it fits absolutely perfectly. It's not that I feel like it's like a visual spectacle that just is a masterpiece of artistic graphical style, because it's not that, and it's not like it looks like fidelity wise incredible, although once again it looks really good. It's just the art style of it is really appealing. It has a charm to it. It's got a nice aesthetic, and I think that aesthetic and that charm just fits Pokemon perfectly, because it allows everything to look really nice and really good. The buildings in Let's Go look really good. The environments look really good, like the tall grass, the water, the caves. It all looks really, really good. And then the people, they also look really good. Like, their faces are expressive. They're exciting. They are, like, there just isn't really any room for it to, like, look bad, quote unquote, just because it's clearly not going for like a realistic style, which Pokemon has never gone for realistic style, but it's so concretely like artistic, like in terms of just being a unique type of graphical style, that you're never going to say, oh, the graphics are bad necessarily, just because it's so far away from trying to be realistic that you're just like, that's how it looks. And so overall, I just think it looks fantastic, and I think, once again, it's the perfect fit for Pokemon, and I would not be mad at all if they used that style going forward. Now, I know they're not going to, because that's kind of a Let's Go thing, and I really hope Let's Go continues because of that, because I would absolutely, like, flip my lid. I'd probably, like, tear off my shirt and just run down the street and just scream bloody murder if we got a Let's Go Johto game, because I need to see, every time I think about Let's Go, I just picture Ecruteak City with all of those fall leaves and those golden leaves at the Tin Tower, and I just lose my mind at the thought of how beautiful that would look for Johto. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's very much a Wind Waker type of thing, and I think over time, it will actually become more similar to Wind Waker in the sense that people hated the Wind Waker art style, but they grew to appreciate it over time. I think the same thing is going to happen for Let's Go, the art style there, especially if we get more than one game, because I think, like, that is just way, way, way too good to abandon and just only use for one game, because it is beyond perfect. It is beyond perfect for just Pokemon in general. And so if you don't like it, you can fight me, because man, it's beautiful. It is a beautiful, beautiful, those are beautiful games. I will take that to the grave. But moving on, let's see. We've got 3 of those done. Let's go with this one. We'll go back to an older one. This one is going to be somewhat controversial, I feel like, but that is going to be about the leveling system in Generation 2. Everyone always talks about how the leveling in the Johto games is all messed up, it's terrible, it's awful, and you know what? No, it's not. It's not terrible, it's just fine. There's really nothing wrong with it. You could maybe make a couple tweaks, but overall, it's fine. And the reason why I say it's fine is because everyone's always talking about how low your Pokemon are leveled. Like, you're going into the Elite Four and the strongest Pokemon is like level 50, or you're battling Team Rocket for the final time and your Pokemon are in the 20s and 30s. Like, that's like way low and way lower than it should be. But guess what, guys? That's because the Johto games are the longest games that we've got in the Pokemon series, because there's 2 regions. So they're kind of accommodating for that, because you got a whole second quest to do after you finish the main quest, which would in any other Pokemon game basically be the end of it. So they obviously have to accommodate for that. And with the champion battle being effectively the halfway point of the game, because you go to Kanto after that and battle another 8 gyms, his Pokemon, his strongest Pokemon, is at level 50. So literally halfway up the leveling scale exactly for halfway through the game. It doesn't get more perfect than that. So I don't understand that. And then the other thing people always talk about is that Red is like it's not that Red is like way stronger than he should be. It's just that like you are way underleveled because like you don't have a chance to get up to his point. Which, to that, I will say, like, I never had a problem with that personally in Gold, Silver, Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I never had a problem with, like, being able to beat Red, and, like, getting strong enough to the point where I could. And I always thought it was really cool that you were inevitably, like, your Pokemon were lower level than him. Because not only did his level 80 freaking 8 Pikachu, if you're playing Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and then all of his level 80-ish Pokemon, not only was that just like awe-inspiring and so intimidating because you had never seen an actual trainer in game with those kind of levels, but the fact that your Pokemon, like, unless you had just like grinded to death, were a lower level than him by probably a significant margin, maybe like 5 to 10 levels or something like that, it sets up the battle perfectly. It sets up Red as this just like impossibly strong figure that like you have to like grind for, and battling Red is almost like climbing a mountaintop just with your bare hands, because you're on an uphill battle the whole time, and that symbolizes the climb of Mount Silver that you had to accomplish to get to him in the first place. So in that sense, it is perfectly symbolic, and it is perfectly like set up the way it should be in order to make that battle as epic and as memorable as we all know it to be. And that's thanks to the leveling system that it's that way. Now, I will say, with that being said, that I feel like the Kanto gym leaders, for instance, they are all sort of scale up in terms of their levels with each one you face, but they're all pretty much in the mid 50s at the same time. They don't really climb too much, so I could see a little bit more climbing in terms of their level progression there, but other than that, I think it's fine. Like, I genuinely think it's fine, and it's for that reason that I just explained with Red as to why it has to be the way it has to be. And if you want to fight me on that, like, I think the proof is in the pudding. The symbolism is there, and Heart Gold and Soul Silver are the best games in the franchise for a reason. Or at least, like, they're not everyone's favorite necessarily, but they are easily regarded as the best Pokemon games ever. And there's a reason for that. The fact that the Kanto post game exists is there, and the leveling accommodates for that. The fact that the red battle is there contributes to that, and the leveling system the way it is contributes to why that's so good. So TLDR, mic drop, walking off the stage, ain't not a thing wrong with the leveling system in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. And we're gonna just squeak this last one in. I had 5. I couldn't think of any more. I was wondering if I needed more, but this is gonna work out perfect, so it's beautiful. My last one is kind of one that's like it's not like controversial or anything, but there's also a significant amount of people that I know feel otherwise, so that's why I put it on here. And that's the fact that I think X and Y, Pokemon X and Y, are really stinking good games. I see a lot of hate for X and Y in terms of, oh, it's too easy, just like, there's not a lot going on, the rivals are terrible, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's not like people are like, X and Y are the worst games ever. Like, there's a general consensus that, yeah, X and Y are good games, but a lot of people tend to point to, like, its faults more than they point to, like, its positive attributes. And I'm just here to say that I think X and Y are some of the best Pokemon games we have ever had. I have never been captivated by a region the way I've been captivated by the Kalos region, to be honest with you. And I don't even really think it has to do with the fact that it was in 3D. I mean, maybe it has a little bit to do with it, but the graphics really didn't factor into just the sense of culture and just the overall aesthetic of it, once again, to use that word, and just the look and feel of everything just enraptured me when I played the game, and I loved it. And I know that's going to kind of come down to personal taste, because I know there's people out there that are beach bums that are going to love the Alola region, and I'm not a beach bum. I'm a guy that likes places like Kalos, like just like scenic, rustic type of locations like that, more so than I like tropical places, which I talked about in last week's podcast. But overall, the region is amazing. We got freaking Mega Evolution in this generation in X and Y, which is probably, outside of like the second region mechanic, the most loved feature that's ever been in Pokemon games ever. So, like, it deserves a ton of credit for that. The Pokemon, I talk about this now and again every once in a while, but the Pokemon are beautiful. Like, have you ever seen Xerneas? Like, Xerneas is just beyond god tier in terms of its design. Yveltal is really amazing as well. And almost every Pokemon is just like A tier in terms of its design. There are a few duds, and the duds are fairly big. Like, I don't like Delphox. I despise Delphox. I despise Aromatisse, and I despise Barbaracle and Binacle. But other than that, it's like, there are more Pokemon that I would describe as fantastic than there are in any other region. Greninja, fantastic. Goodra, fantastic. Noivern, fantastic. Phantom, fantastic. Pumpkaboo, fantastic. Xerneas Yveltal, once again, fantastic. It just, the list goes just on and on and on and on and on of all these Pokemon that are just so cool. The fossils. The fossil Pokemon in Kalos, in my opinion, fantastic and easily the best fossil Pokemon we have ever gotten. So there's just so many reasons to like it. And then in terms of, like, it's too easy, well, the X and Y games were the first games that introduced the shared experience share, where it gave experience to all of your Pokemon, and that's kind of the main thing that makes it easier. But in those games, you can turn that off. So literally the difference between X and Y being too easy and actually having a legit challenge or having an adequate amount of difficulty is literally the push of a button. It's not like Let's Go, it's not like Sword and Shield where you can't turn that off. You can turn that off. So that kind of is up to you in terms of the difficulty, so I don't really feel like it deserves that hate either. And so overall, I think X and Y are fantastic games. Not saying they're perfect, but pretty fantastic, and I feel like they deserve to be appreciated more. With that being said, though, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for me and for today's episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it as well. I feel like I feel I did pretty good in just talking in general and telling you guys why I feel the way I feel. So hopefully this was entertaining. Hopefully I passed the time for you a little bit in this somewhat interesting time of world history that we are living in. So if you guys enjoyed, follow wherever you're listening, subscribe if you're on YouTube, leave me comments if you're on YouTube, like I said as well. We'll be back next Friday as we always are. I love you guys. If you want to check out more Pokemon content and you haven't subscribed to me already on YouTube, check me out, Hoops and Hip Hop, tons of Pokemon content there for you. And yeah, once again, check us out here. Check out the rest of the shows here. Follow. It's fantastic. With that being said, I'll see you guys next week. Love you very much. Stay safe, and I will smell you guys later.